Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Boss Up and Tea. I am Cindy, one of your hosts, and I've also got Miss Tina here. She is joining us via FaceTime. We are both kind of under the weather, and so we are just making do with what we've got and keeping away from each other at the moment since we're both kind of under the weather. Well, she got it first on Sunday, so
Yeah, it was horrible. I was in bed all day Sunday, all day Monday. I felt bad. Like we drank Saturday and I woke up like at 6:30 on Sunday and I was like, I don't feel good. And he was like, "Oh," like thinking like, "Oh, you're hungover." And I was like, "No."
okay.
I was
So I was gonna ask you too. I was gonna ask you, um, oh well, when your husband messaged me and told me that you weren't gonna make it and that you were sick, I was gonna ask him, well, is she hungover or is she sick? Sick?
No, girl. I like when I tell you I was out of it, I was like, I don't feel good at all. I got up to use the restroom. My whole head and my face and my nose, I couldn't breathe. It was horrible. And yeah, I was in bed all day. I got up one time to eat. He
Mm-hmm.
made burgers. I was so stopped up. Like I couldn't even breathe. I couldn't taste. I was like biting and like trying to breathe. I was like, and I was hungry. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. And I was like, I don't know, whatever. And I went right back to bed. I think I was asleep for the night by like 6:30 or 7. I was
Oh wow.
out. Yeah, it was horrible. And then Monday, same thing. I got up. I took Dalen to school. I mean, I had Illy here with me, but she's not really bad. And I just laid in bed all day. It's more now, it's more in my chest. Like my chest hurts. It hurts from coughing so much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how I got sick. And it's funny, my mom, she started feeling sick on Monday and she was like, "We've only been around each other." I'm like, "So how did we give it to each other and from where?" Like
No, I think
and
it's just something going around because, like I was telling you, my mom is sick, and I haven't seen my mom in I don't know over a week. So there's
mhm.
no way that she got me sick. I think it's just something in the
And
environment
you know
right
what?
now.
I was thinking, I was like, well, maybe Dalen brought it home from school, but Dalen is fine.
Hmm.
It's weird. He's fine, knock on wood. I've been giving him medicine like every now and then just so he doesn't get sick. Like I'll give him NyQuil to sleep. But he's good. It's just me and Illy. Me and her are both sick, and it's a cough and a runny nose.
Yeah.
And I mean, Monday I was finally able to eat and taste, but still, I'm not 100% better. But I think I have an upper respiratory infection because I've had it before. I know how it feels. It's all up
Hmm.
in here. It's horrible. And everybody, even everybody at my house, the kids, everybody was like, "Oh, you're hungover." I was like, "No." I was like, "I'm really sick. I really feel like shit." I'm like, "I don't understand." They're like, "Oh, we thought you were just in bed all day because you drink too." I was like, "No." I was like, we were in bed by 10:30, 11 o'clock on Saturday night, so we didn't even go to bed late. Like we came home, we got home by like 10 and then we ate and went to sleep.
Hmm.
And what's funny is I had appointment Saturday and on my last appointment, my nose started running. Like I didn't feel bad, but my nose started running out of anywhere and I thought it was because we had turned the air up or whatever, up or down, whatever y'all want to say, because the my client was saying she was cold,
Oh,
and,
okay.
but we were hot, so we turned it back up. And me, when I get hot, my nose runs. Even when I'm working out or anything, my nose runs when I'm hot.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. And so I was like, okay, maybe because it's hot in here. So I had to stop a few times while doing her brows to go blow my nose. And then when I woke up Sunday, I just felt like shit, complete shit. I was like, maybe I was getting sick. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I have no idea where I got it from, but I feel
Well,
okay.
hopefully you start feeling better. And well, I'm supposed to see you tomorrow. Well, my sister's getting
Yeah.
her eyebrows done, so I've got to take my sister over there to see you. So, um, and just for our listeners, we haven't seen each other or talked to each other except for here and there little things, little
I
text
know.
messages. So we're kind of catching up with each other as well. So
We've been
uh,
busy these last few weeks.
I know it has been busy. It's been It's been crazy, and I don't think it's going to get any better. We're getting into summer. Today was the kids' last day of school. I officially have
Mm-hmm.
a fourth grader and a first grader. My
Yay.
baby graduated from kindergarten. I even went, so for my oldest, when he graduated kindergarten, I went and got him some pictures taken. It was like a mini photo
Oh.
shoot with the cap and
Mm-hmm.
gown and everything. Um, and I wanted to do the same thing with Gordo. So I ordered a cap and gown from Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and their dad is really good at like photoshopping and stuff. So we don't get school pictures like I just get a good picture of them, and he photoshops it. And I got to send you some so you can see, but they came out so good. And I took some of Gordo with his cap and gown. So now I have both Marcelo and Gordo some pictures like in a cap and gown from their graduation from kindergarten. And they went to the
Oh,
same school and they had the same teachers. So
that's so
um,
cute.
I know. I was really excited. I was like, "Oh my gosh, they came out so cute." He was like, because I just grabbed him and I was just like, "Come on, let's go real quick." And he was like, "Well, where are we going?" And I was like, "Just come on." And so I took him to the school and I took some pictures like in front of the school, in front of the sign, just little random poses and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, their dad is really good at photoshopping stuff. And I told him, I said, see, between the two of us, me taking the pictures and you photoshopping them, we don't
You
need.
need a photographer.
Heck no! I told him, I said, we're the damn professionals now. Forget that. I don't need no
That's cute.
photographer. So, but yeah, so that's what we today was the last day of school. I went to the boys' school. They had their end of the year parties and stuff, and they were excited. They were like, "Let's go! I'm ready to get out of here." I was like, "All right,
So
let's
today
go."
was Dalen's last day of school also. So Monday they had an award ceremony, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I originally planned to go, but then with me feeling like that, I told him, I was like, baby, I'm not gonna go because I don't want to get all the other little kids sick. I was like, so they streamed it live on Facebook. I was like, I'll watch it. And he was like, okay. Then like around 12:30, his teacher messages me and she's like, hi. I'm like, hi. And I already knew what she was gonna say. And she was like, someone's complaining because they're the only student left in class. And she sent me a
Oh,
picture of him sitting by himself in the class playing with some toys. I was like,
poor
why does she have this
baby.
in the picture? That made it 10 times worse. I was like, I'm so sorry because they told parents, if you go to the word assembly, as soon as it's over, you can take
You
them
can
home,
take them home.
which I knew, but I was like, there's no way everybody's
You didn't
parents are gonna
expect
pick them up.
everybody to be picking their kid up.
No,
Poor Dalen. He was all
I
by
know.
himself.
And so I told her why I didn't go. I was like, I woke up with like a cold, so I didn't want to get the other kids sick. That's why I didn't go. Because you have to sign up for it or whatever. Um, and she was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry." I was like, "I'm on my way," so I went to go pick him up.
Poor baby. Yeah, I did
I
the same thing
know.
today when with the boys' parties. I got them mixed up. You would think kindergarten would go first and then third grade. And no, they had it reversed because I was planning on because it was from Marcelo's was at 11 o'clock and Gordo's was at 1 o'clock. And I had them mixed up. I thought that Gordo's was at 11 and Marcelo's was at 1. So my plan was because I get an hour for lunch, I was like, okay, I'll go at like 12:30, go for a little bit with Gordo, and then we'll go to Marcelo's class, go for a little bit, and then we'll chunk the deuces, head home. I
Yeah.
get up to the school and they're like, oh, well, third grade was at 11 o'clock and the party's already over. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. And they're like, and kindergarten doesn't start until 1, so we can't let you back there, and we're not letting parents back until 1 o'clock. And I'm like, so I took my lunch a whole half hour too early. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
so now I'm just sitting there and I'm like, well, crap. I'm like, I can't even go back. And they're like, no, just there. Well, they said you can go pull Marcelo out of class, but he can't go to to Aurelio's
Award
party. There were
ceremony?
there yeah
Really?
they weren't letting siblings because they're like we're limited on space in the classrooms, and so
Yeah.
siblings can't go. And I was like, well, shit, okay. So then I just waited till 1 o'clock. Was in the classroom with Gordo, let him eat his ice cream and whatnot, and talk to his teacher for a few minutes. And then we went up to the office and had them pull Marcelo out. So I was like, well, I screwed that all up.
That's so funny. Like, whoops.
Yep. So, but anyways, uh, so um, so I had some drama last. Well, it's still kind of going on. I texted you last night and told you that somebody freaking
Oh, yeah.
copied my TikTok page, which blows my mind because I'm like, I mean, I have a decent following, but I don't have like 10,000 followers or nothing. Mine's like
Hmm.
close to, it's over 3,000 followers that I've got. Close to four, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
And for somebody to make a copy of my TikTok page, I was like, what the hell is going on? So then I reported them, and then they said that I couldn't report them, that there was no violation. And I'm like, what do you mean there's no violation? They're literally copying my page. That's not them. That's not who they say they are. And my sister
Hmm.
was even recommending, she was like, well, maybe you need to get verified. So I was like looking into it. But to get verified, it's
It's
you don't
hard to get
well, you
verified.
don't you don't need a certain amount of followers, which I think is good, but you have to provide four links where you were mentioned and it has to be a notable media media source or something like that. So
What?
yeah, you have to be like in the news or something or some sort of, something that they consider notable.
That is crazy. I was gonna say a lot of people that are verified say that it's hard to get verified, that it's not
Mm-hmm.
easy. And a lot of famous TikTokers, like, some people that are not verified, a lot of their followers would tell them you need to get verified, and they'll be like, it's not as easy as y'all think to get verified. I'm like, that's crazy. So I did go look up that TikTok and I try to report it, but really it says you have to be a celebrity because I did the whole that they're impersonating or pretending to be someone else, and then it says who, and then it says me, and then it says
So
or
celebrity.
celebrity.
So I
Yeah, I'm
did it
like,
that's what I did, but I clicked me and it still didn't they still didn't.
I couldn't even tag your page though. I tried to type your name and it would not. So I was like, so you really have to be an actual celebrity? Like that doesn't make any sense because on Facebook you can report it if someone has a fake page, like no
Mhm.
problem. But TikTok's like, you're okay,
Yeah.
which I
It's
think is
it's
crazy.
crazy. So people listening, I only have a one TikTok page and it is Syntex SINTX 82. The other one that's
Two
out of there, the other one that's out there is 83. So they even copied my TikTok name,
username, yeah.
yeah, username and everything. They just changed one digit. So, but anyways, I thought that was kind of crazy. Speaking of children's awards, did you or have you seen that TikTok where it's a lady? I think it was in Atlanta. This
Mhm.
lady throws a fit
Yep.
at her kid's award ceremony because her kid didn't get an award, and I'm
Getting
like,
an
see,
award.
that's what's wrong with the freaking world right now. Everybody wants a damn award, and no, this is not. You don't get a participation award. You want an award, especially for school. To me, you got to work for it. My son only got his certificate of completion for the third grade. He
Yeah.
didn't get any extra awards. And I told him, because last year he got a lot of awards. And I told him, I said, okay, I know this year was harder. Third grade is a hard year because this is the first year they're doing the STAR
The
test, and
test.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's a harder year. So I told him, I said, all right, you didn't get any awards this year, so next year we've got to work really hard to get
Yeah.
to get the awards. So for her to throw a fit, I was just like, my mind was blown. I was like, she's like causing a big old scene. I'm like, that poor kid, he probably is even more embarrassed
Yeah.
now. I'm like, uh-uh.
I know. I thought the same thing about the kid. I was like, poor baby. Now he's probably extra embarrassed and he probably knows he can't say nothing to her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you should have just left it alone. He probably even if he did feel bad for not getting an award, then that's when you take him home and have that conversation with him on why he didn't receive anything. But don't embarrass him even more.
Yeah. Tell him we've got to work really hard. Next year we'll do this, we'll do that. We'll read, we'll sit down and look at your homework together, whatever the case may be, or maybe extra homework. I mean, whatever you got to do to.
But some comments were even talking about So I wonder how it is at home. If he didn't get any awards, is she on top of him at home? Is he doing
Exactly.
his homework? Does she have communication with the teacher? How is that relationship? Which I'm like, yeah, it
Probably
all
not.
comes back on you as a parent too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you doing to help him get there? Nothing. You
Exactly.
just drop him off and be like, okay, good luck. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I seen that video and I was like, oh my gosh, how embarrassing!
Yep.
How embarrassing!
I
I
thought
wouldn't
that
do that.
too. I was like, I saw her throwing a fit, and I was like, that's she's just doing too much, too much.
Yeah, or baby.
Anyways, all right. So this week's episode, we are talking relationships.
Yeah.
Um, I guess there's so many different aspects we can jump into as far as relationships are concerned. What makes them work, what doesn't, what I don't know where do you want to start on this subject?
Um. So one of the things that I heard, because I listen to the radio every morning, is can a relationship work if you were raised two different ways? What do you think?
It's a lot harder.
Hmm.
It does put a strain on the relationship. Um, I will say so. I've been married and divorced twice,
Hmm.
um, and I think both of my marriages we were raised pretty similar as
Hmm.
far as morals and stuff like that. Now, the relationship I was in um, for 3 years, I was in a relationship, and him and we weren't married. Um, we lived together, but he was raised very different than I was, and I would say that I think that had a big um, that was a big issue for us because
Hmm.
um, he was raised mainly by his father, where I was raised mainly by my mother. Um, he didn't have that mother, that nurturing mother, I guess you could say. And
Gotcha.
what was funny is, so he didn't have his mother, and he ended up having two kids with a woman who actually ended up abandoning her kids as well.
Oh wow.
And he was raising the
His
kids.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really funny how he was brought up a certain way, and then his kids ended up being brought up the exact same way. But
Yeah.
he had a lot of anger issues. He had a lot, and that anger management, that's something that I couldn't deal with because I'm not like that. So I
Hmm.
think the way people are brought up has a lot can put a big strain on the relationship for sure.
For sure. I think the short answer is yes. I think a
Mm-hmm.
relationship could work. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Um, I think it takes two mature people to want to be able to make it work.
Right.
It's a relationship already takes two to make it work. So it's gonna make it that much harder to make it work. And it really just depends. Like, let's say the guy was brought up one way, the girl was brought up another way, but the girl wants to break what is it called? Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. Traditional or whatever. Oh my gosh, what is it called? Traditional curses.
I don't know where you.
Basically repetitive stuff that's happened in her family. Like if she doesn't like what how she was raised
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and she likes how he was raised, then it might be a little bit easier. Or vice versa. He doesn't like how he was raised and he likes the way she was brought up, then that might make it more easier. But yeah, I think that it could work. It's just gonna take a lot to make it work and a lot of patience
Oh
and a
yeah.
lot of kind of putting your pride to the side and being willing to learn the other person and how they were brought up. And that doesn't mean because this person was brought up this way and the other one was brought up another way that either one is wrong. It's learning to do it together. And maybe blend your beliefs or how you want to live life going forward.
So I think you said something, that's a key is you have to have two people willing to work
Hmm.
on it. And I think that was the problem with my marriages is, we weren't on the same page at the same time.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, things happen, whatnot. Um, but with this last relationship, it just I ended the relationship before I knew it was going to cause problems. Like I could see down the road there was going to be issues with the
Hmm.
way I want my boys brought up a certain way, certain beliefs, certain morals,
Yeah.
and when a grown man is throwing a tantrum, I don't want my boys to see that and think that that kind of behavior is okay because it's
Right.
not. I'm
Hmm.
not raising three kids. I'm raising two. If
Yep.
if I wanted to raise another kid, I would have had another kid. you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
so so I ended that relationship. Before it got to that point, before we got any further. For me, that was the mature thing to do. End it before anything else,
Yeah.
gets worse. Um, and I know another point you wanted to bring up was, mother-in-laws.
Hmm.
How do mother-in-laws, affect a relationship? Now, I will say this: I was blessed with, great mother-in-laws. I've never had an issue with anybody or with anybody's family, I guess you could say. So I've never had that. You hear about the dreaded mother-in-law, the one who's always interfering and always,
Yeah.
I've never had that. I've seen it. I've seen it like on TV. I've heard people dealing with it, but I've never had to deal with that.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you know, but this is actually my second marriage. I've been married before this
Mm-hmm.
also. But it didn't last long, but it was long enough where I couldn't get an annulment. So we had to go through the whole divorce process. But it was easy because we didn't have any kids together, we didn't own any property together. Like that's how quick it began and ended.
Right.
Um, but I think the same thing. We were young. How old was I? Lord, baby Jesus. I
Oh,
don't
I
even
was I
remember.
was 18. Well, I was 17 when I ran off and thought that I was in love, and then 18 um when we got married. When I got married for the first time.
Yeah. So how old am I now? I'm 35. So maybe what was I, 22, 23 when I got married? Um, but we had known each other already for a few years and we had dated off and on. Honestly, it was a toxic relationship. It was one of those.
Mm-hmm.
It was a toxic relationship, and one of the times that we broke up and got back together, we're like, okay, we're gonna make this work. Let's get married, and that's what we did. It was a real quick, short courthouse wedding, and funny thing is the dress that I picked was black. I was like, I cursed my own marriage because
Uh-uh.
I wear black
Now, I will
dresses.
say I think black wedding dresses are beautiful. So,
But it wasn't like a wedding dress. It was like I went to Rainbow and got a fucking dress.
not rainbow.
Literally. Um, but no, like it yeah, it didn't last long. And he's no longer alive, so rest his soul. But it
Really?
just yeah,
Your first
yeah,
husband has passed and my first husband has passed.
yeah.
That's cr-
That's
I
crazy.
know.
Um, but like his mom was great. I don't really talk to anybody else, like too many people in his family. His mom checks in on me every now and the kids. She'll even check on Dalen and Aileen, like how are your kids doing and how are y'all doing? And
Mhm.
she'll send me a happy birthday text. But we had a great relationship. But of course, when relationships die off, everything else kind of dies off. And
Yeah.
then once he passed, me and her kind of talked a little bit more. And then now it's been since he passed away in 2017. So it's already been 7 years. So of course that's kind of died down. And then me and my husband, we've been together for 11 years. but we've been married 6. And I don't have a monster-in-law. We don't have like a close relationship, but I wouldn't say I have like, oh my gosh, she's always in our relationship. She's always putting her 2 cents in and always wanting to be here and take over. We don't have that. We did have a close relationship, but at one point when me and my husband were not on good terms, we weren't. We just weren't on good terms. I feel like that kind of separated myself and his family.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a bad relationship. It's just it's not the mother-in-law daughter-in-law relationship that everybody else may think of. But I don't have a monster-in-law either, which I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I did. Like I can't even imagine someone that it could be either way. It could be someone that's always putting their 2 cents in, like calling every day. Well, is she cooking? Is she cleaning? Is she
Yeah.
taking care of the kids?
Yeah.
Or it could be like, oh, you made the worst mistake of your life. I can't believe you're with it. It could be either one of those, and I don't have it, thank God, because I don't know what I would do. I would probably go fucking crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how I would handle that either because I
I
don't
see.
know.
It's so funny that you bring that up. I seen a TikTok yesterday, and it kind of seemed fake. I don't know if it was real. So this girl was supposedly recording her mother-in-law at her house, right? And the mother-in-law was like, he pays for this house and you got laundry here on the floor, and what do you do for him? You need to get out of his house and blah blah blah. And she was like,
See, I
she
would
kept
lose
backing
it.
up and backing up, and she's like, I need you to get out of my face, Miss So whatever her name was, Miss So, I need you to get out of my face. And she was like, no, you're no good for my son. Look how you have his house. He takes care of you. You can't even keep it clean. And
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I was like, I don't know. It just kind of seemed too, like, you're too calm for this lady to be in your face talking shit. And you just were like, okay, I need you to leave. And she's like, no, you need to get out of my son's house. I'm like, I don't know if this is real, but I seen that yesterday. I was like, there's no way, absolutely no way I could have you in my face telling me that.
See,
And I'm just like, okay.
I think that would take a toll on the relationship 100% because, or if I had that type of relationship, because yeah, you're not going to come in my house and tell me what to
Yeah,
do, what what
what
I
I'm
need to
not doing
cook, or
right.
yeah, what I'm not doing right, what your son expects, you know. Now, I'll say this, I'm very old school. I've said this before. I
Hmm.
believe in cooking and cleaning for my man, and I do my best to make sure my don't look in my house right now because it's a hot mess. But for the most part, I try to keep a clean house. Cook dinner, whatever. I do. I believe men have their roles and women have their roles, and if
Yeah.
they both pitch in and do it together, then that's what makes the house work.
Hmm.
Now, if I had somebody, being metiche and putting their 2 cents in and telling me, "Oh, well, you didn't clean that right, or you should make this, or you should do that," no, yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's not gonna go over. We're gonna have problems. We're gonna have problems, and
So,
I'm not one to, because for me, family is very important. If somebody was
hmm.
to tell me, you can't talk to your mom, or I don't want your mom to come over, or I don't want your, oh, then no, we done, because
Oh
my
yeah, absolutely.
my mom is
Absolutely.
is
I
my
think both
rock.
ways too.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like I would never keep you from your family. Don't ever try to keep me from mine.
exactly,
Like
exactly.
absolutely not. And see, the thing too is we've been together so long that I don't I don't know. It's like we've grown with each other where we do our own thing versus at first we were still learning each other and okay, I'm going to do this for you, but now it's like I cook, you wash the dishes. And that's just what works for us.
Yeah,
Like on Sunday, I was sick all day in bed. And he was like, what do you need me to do? I was like, Sunday is my laundry day. He was like, I got the clothes. I got laundry. So, and then some people think like a man is not supposed to do that. Like, I don't believe that. I feel like we're going in on this relationship 50-50. I need you to have my back like I would have yours.
yeah.
And Like I said, I love cooking.
But
I hate
that
dishes.
goes
I
that
hate
goes
dishes.
that goes both ways. I'm with you on, the if you cook, he should help with the dishes or whatnot, stuff like
Hmm.
that. But if he's outside working out, in the yard, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
like, okay, let me go out there, let me see what I can do to help, so that we
Hmm.
can get done, so that we can both relax together. Or if he's out
Right.
there working on the car, I'm gonna go, okay, maybe I'll just be the tool bitch. What do you need?
Right.
What socket do you need? Because they're on the ground or in the hood or whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna help out as much as I can, and try to, like you said, you got to the teamwork. You got to make the team,
Yeah.
and so helping each other out whenever the other person needs it. That's what's going to make it
Yeah.
thrive. Um,
Absolutely.
so I am reconciled with my second husband. We're, you know, in a relationship again. We were together for 10 years, divorced for 5, and now things are different. Like you said, you learn, you grow, you mature, you
Hmm.
learn what things have worked, what things haven't. And when you've known somebody for such a long time, you know that person like the back of your hand.
Yeah.
And it's very important to help each other out. I mean, if you're going to make it work, relationships are not easy. They are not easy whatsoever. They take a lot of work, and like you said earlier, you've both got to be willing to put in the work, because if you're not,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Relationships have ups and downs, and you have to have a lot of patience. You have to be able to put your pride to the side. I think communication is really big in relationships. You have to learn each other's communication styles,
And I
first of
suck
all.
at communicating. Okay, wait. I like to talk. Okay, I like to
Yeah.
talk. I like to bullshit. I like to. But when it comes to communicating, as far as if I know there's going to be an argument, or if I know there's going to be some sort of conflict or just confrontation, I hate it. Like I hate talking about that kind of stuff. Like
You have
I
to.
know, but I suck at it, and I'm trying to do better as an adult. I'm trying to be better and do better at doing that. But arguing, and it's just so mentally draining. Like I hate it so much.
It
And
is.
I think that goes back to from when I was little, though. My parents argued so much that,
Hmm.
and I hated like
It's
seeing
like a
that.
trigger to you.
Yes, exactly. It,
Yeah.
it is a trigger. And so I
Hmm.
don't like to be involved in stuff like that. Now, I've been in many altercations with people that I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about that. It's people who I love, care for, that
Yeah.
I don't want to disappoint. Those
Yeah.
are the people, those are the conversations that I hate to have. I'd even do it with my mom still. I'm like, I wait to the last minute to tell her something
Yeah.
if I know it's going to upset her or be, a topic where that she's not going to like or what. Like, I mean, I'm 42 years old and I'm still like that. I'm trying to do
Yeah.
better, but yeah, my communication skills when it comes to stuff like that sucks. And I'm,
See, so I've grown a lot also with communicating because I used to suck at communicating. I never wanted to communicate about nothing. I used to be the type where just whatever, let it go. I'm gonna hold it in, and we're just gonna move on, act like nothing ever
oh,
happened.
I'm the queen of keeping it bottled in.
Yeah, but I've learned that that's not the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But your
Hmm.
partner also has to learn your communication skills to make you feel comfortable enough to be able to talk about it. So my relationship is by all means not the perfect relationship, but what as far as communication, sometimes you have to figure out like, okay, is it better for you to sit there and write it down to get it out that way? Because that now you've gotten it out. And
Right.
now we can sit down and talk about it. But that other person has to be patient with you if that's your way of communicating. Like, leave me alone. Let me write it down and then let me talk to you. They can't get mad because that's your way of communicating. So y'all just have to learn each other's way of communication and
Yep.
go from there.
Yep. I agree. Man,
And be patient with each other and
yes.
allow each other to speak. I always say, listen to understand, don't listen to respond. I even tell my kids that when they're upset and I'm trying to talk to them and they're just like this at the mouth, they get that from me. So I'll
No.
cut it. I'll cut it. I'll be like, okay, right now you're listening to respond. You're not listening to understand what I'm saying. So when you calm down, we can revisit this conversation. They'll be like, no, I don't even want to talk to you. That's fine. And I'll just walk away. Because it's not gonna go anywhere. You're upset and we're not gonna communicate well. So I'll
Right.
just walk away.
Right.
So that's something that I'm always preaching. Listen to understand. Don't listen to respond. And
I
I think
like
a
that.
lot
I
of us
like
are
that.
like that. Because I mean, I think it's just natural that you're hearing something now. You're like, okay, now what can I say back? Instead of actually trying to understand what the other person is saying. Hold on, I got a cough.
Okay. Cough. So my grandparents were, before my grandfather passed, they were married for 63 years. 63 years before. I'm seeing you cough and I'm going to make me cough. 63 years. And, you know, before my grandfather passed, I would talk to both of them and I would be like, what do you think has, you know, how were y'all able to maintain being together 63 years? Like, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And my grandmother, you know, because she'll tell me stories. My grandfather used to tell me stories. More my grandma. My grandfather really didn't like open up about like their problems when they were younger. But my grandma has told me a lot of stories, and that's where, you know, I always say that she's like my, almost like we're just connected. Like our souls, we are one. Honestly, because we're so similar, and the things that she did when she was younger, and you know, and I tell her, you know, how I've screwed up, and she's like, "Oh, mija, you know that. Let me tell you." And so she'll tell me a story with something similar, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like what?
Yeah.
You did that?" Like, and she was like, "Oh, if you only knew the things I was doing when I was younger, you know." Because she was really young when she met my grandfather, and
Yeah.
you know, she had like another boyfriend before him, but he was like, you know, the one, you know. And she says times were just so different back then than they are now. You know, back then the women really didn't think they had any other options. Once they had kids, once they were, you know, there wasn't, you know, there wasn't all these like dating apps. There wasn't all this social media. There wasn't. And, you know, one thing that I think I've learned is not to put everything out on social media. And I know that's hard. That's hard for people to understand as far as, you know, because we are on TikTok. We are, you know, doing a podcast. We talk about our lives. But one thing you won't hear me talk about very much is my relationship, because I don't think it's, you know, we're talking about it today, but because that's the topic.
The topic, yeah.
But I don't put my business out there. I think I did that a little bit too much before, and I think it just, how do I put, I'm trying to think how, like, I think there's just too much envidia out there. There's too much jealousy. There's too many people who want to see you fail. And so there's so many people who, I mean, nowadays you can make up all kinds of lies. You can, and I just don't need that in my life. Like, why people can't let other people just be happy, I don't know. But that's the way it is. I mean, look at the freaking TikTok. People copied my damn TikTok yesterday. Why? Like, what are you getting out of that? It's the same thing. What do people get out of being metiche and being into people's, you know, relationships? No, you know, I'll post some pictures here and there, but I'm not one of those people who's posting, "Oh, I love my man so much," da, 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 and then a week later they're breaking up, they're fighting, and then
oh my God,
I hate seeing that. They're posting all of their freaking business on social media, and then you wonder why people hate that other person, or why they don't see your relationship lasting, or you're changing a man or a girl every freaking 3 to 6 months. I mean, what do you?
And then they get mad when you have something to say about it. Like me, I
Yeah,
don't. I just let everybody else do it. But then they get mad because someone comments. But you're putting it out there for the
yeah.
world to see. Someone's
Mm-hmm.
gonna say something about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that gets on my nerves too.
I
Like,
don't. I don't tell people anything about you when they do stuff like that. Like you
and then
said,
I don't either.
yeah.
But the thing about it too is not like, oh, we're together now, we broke up. But when they break up, it's like, oh, he was cheating and he did this and he did that. Like
Don't tell
spilling it all.
people.
And then now, 2 weeks later, oh, we're back together.
My
But after
king,
you
my
just said
queen.
he did all of this and went here and went there with so and so, now we know
Mm-hmm.
everything that he did, but you're right back with him. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
Yeah, it's crazy. One thing I did want to talk about, normalizing boundaries, having boundaries in relationships. Um, I kind of thought about it whenever we were talking about mother-in-laws. It doesn't just go for mother-in-laws. I think it goes for friends and family too. But setting boundaries in your relationship, not allowing people to get that far into your relationship, like setting boundaries. Like, I know, not in my relationship, but I know there are some relationships where men will be hanging out with each other and they're my, or even women, I'm not just gonna say men, even women hanging out with your friends, and some of them are so toxic where they're like just talking shit about their partner and they expect you to. And
Oh, I'm not gonna do that. Mm-mm.
yeah, it's like put a boundary on it. Like, y'all can do that in your relationship, but don't bring
Yeah.
that over here.
Well, exactly. And that's what I mean, where I say, I'm not going to talk about a lot about my relationship in public, because anything that happens inside the home, that's for the home. That's not for
Yeah,
outside people.
exactly.
The more people you bring into your relationship, the more problems you're going to have. Bottom line.
Yep,
Bottom
yep,
line.
I agree. Yeah, I think being able to set boundaries in your relationship is a good thing. Um, Even for like us men and women, if your mother, even as a woman, if your mother's getting too much into your relationship, set boundaries. Tell her, back up, respectfully, but like, I got this. This is my relationship. When I need your help, I'll reach out to you. When I want your opinion, I'll reach out to you. But don't, you need to stop. And it's because
Yeah.
I feel like once you're husband and wife, that's your priority,
That's your
and you need to
family.
protect that.
You
Yeah,
have
you need to
your
protect
immediate
that.
family. You have you each have your own family that you were raised with, obviously, but once you're married, and or you're in a relationship and you're living together or whatnot, that's your family. That's your priority, like you said.
Yeah,
Everybody else, that's just, I mean, you're bringing too much in. You like, and
yeah,
I mean, I will admit, I've had to tell my mom, not with relationships. She's pretty good about respecting like relationship boundaries.
yeah,
Um, but I've had to kind of tell her to kind of not. I mean, I've always been very respectful of my mother, but like with my kids is where I'm going. I had to tell, because
okay, yeah,
she'll tell me, you need to do this, or you need. I'm like, mother, I've got this. Like,
yeah,
and she's like,
yeah.
well, I'm always going to give you my opinion, and I know that. I know you're going to give me your opinion, but there are going to be times where I'm going to tell you, okay, you need to kind of pump the brakes. You need
Yeah,
to, I've got this. I got it covered. And I mean, I've had to tell her that, a couple of times, because, well, and my kids are her only grandkids. So
okay.
these two boys are, it for her. And
Yeah,
unless one of my sisters has a kid, that very may well be it. I don't know. But
yeah,
yeah, so those boys are like her pride and joy, and I get it. The love she
mhm,
has for them, I've been pushed to the back burner.
yeah.
She's like, Cindy, who? It's always,
I think that
the
that's good
boys.
too. I mean, my kids are older now. Well, my boys are older. And I really haven't had to do it with the little ones yet, but I've had to tell her before, like, because she'll spoil them, and I'll get on to them, like, don't do this or that, and they know when they get in trouble, they can go run to grandma. And I've had to tell her, I need you to stop. Like,
Hmm.
you're making it hard for me to be a mom and me to be strict and stern on them,
Yeah.
and for them to take me serious, because then, because their dad really wasn't around. So now I'm playing mommy and daddy, but they're running to you like, oh, it's okay. I can get in trouble with mom and I can just run to grandma and grandma's gonna make it all better. So I've had to tell her that before, like, hey, I need you to stop. Like, I know you want to rescue them, but let them cry it out and be mad for a little bit. They'll be okay because as long as you're rescuing them, they're not gonna learn. And
Right.
she's like, okay. I'm like, I understand it's hard. Those are your grandkids. You love them, but okay, that's great. But
We're gonna have to do an episode where we bring your mom and my mom and have like a. I think that would be a really good episode
that'll
to.
be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got to do something like that one day.
So, do you believe in the soulmate?
Short answer, yes.
Okay.
Do I think that necessarily sometimes it's the person you're in a relationship with? No.
No. Yeah.
I think
I agree.
I think soulmates.
I don't think it's I don't think it's somebody always has to be the person that you're with in a
Yeah.
relationship with. That doesn't mean that you don't love them.
Oh yeah,
Or
100%.
not in
Yeah,
love or whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, I agree. It doesn't always have to be the person that you're in a relationship with.
yeah. I yeah. I don't think it's always just the person you're in a relationship. Now, sometimes it is. Sometimes people are, it is their, their significant other, husband, wife, whatever.
Yeah.
But yes, short answer, yes, I do believe in soulmates. I think, there's certain relationships that are unbreakable. And I say that because my grandmother, I don't know if she's necessarily like my soulmate, but we're kindred spirits. Does that make sense?
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, and I don't always think that your soulmate has to be someone romantically either. It can be someone else. Just because
Yeah.
someone you feel like that they are your soulmate doesn't mean it has to be romantically either.
Right, right. And because my grandmother and I, we're connected on so many levels. And I'm going to tell you really quick, a quick story. My grandmother and I, now my grandmother, she's going to be 85 in June. And this happened a few years ago. Maybe, I want to say it happened before my grandfather passed. Maybe like right before he passed. Her and I, we were in the kitchen at her house, and she was like, Mija, I had a dream about you the other night. And I was like, really? That's funny, because I had a dream about you the other night too. And she was like, when? I was like, it was like 2 nights ago. She goes, yeah, that was the same night. I was like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Girl, we had the exact same dream.
No way.
The exact same dream. So the dream, I'm not going to go into the specific details, but basically it was her funeral, and I went up to go speak at the front, at the funeral home, and told a specific story from when I was growing up. And I get goosebumps thinking, and when I tell you the day I lose my grandmother, I will not be okay, because that woman. Oh, anyways, but yeah. So we had the exact same dream on the same night, and
that is crazy.
I was, and when I told her, when we realized we both had the exact same dream, we were just in tears. You know what? My grandfather was still alive, because he came into the kitchen and we're both crying, and he's like, what's wrong? and we didn't go into specifics with him either, but we told him, we just realized we both had the same dream on the same night. And he was like, ay, ustedes, y'all are, and he just would shake his head and just kind of like blow us off,
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe in souls being connected. I believe that, there is one person out there that you are romantically connected to, that I wouldn't say it's necessarily a soulmate, but somebody who you will just always have that connection to.
Yeah.
romantically as well.
Mhm.
Maybe that is considered a soulmate. I don't know, but um, just somebody who you can open up to and be yourself and be a complete dork sometimes. And um, I don't know. I feel very blessed in my current relationship. With the boy's dad. I feel like we're each other's best friend.
Yeah.
We can laugh at the stupidest things. We stay on the phone for hours at a time sometimes, and just talking about, sometimes not even talking.
Yeah.
That's what I would say is the connection there. It's nice to have that connection with somebody.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so the next one is, do you think that marriage is overrated?
Oh, that's not a question for me because I like being married. I like being a wife. Now, if you had asked me that
Have
like
I?
4 years ago, I would have said
Oh, I thought you said I've already asked you. I'm like, have
no, no,
I?
no, 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 no. If you would,
If I would have,
if you would
yeah,
have asked me that probably 4 years ago, I would have said yes, it's overrated.
yeah,
But deep down, I don't think it is. I think marriage is a beautiful thing. I love being married. Um, I like being a wife.
yeah.
But that's in my nature. I'm a nurturer. I like taking care of people. That's just who I am. Now, I think marriage nowadays is not taken as seriously as it should be. Those
Agreed.
vows mean everything.
Hmm.
Um, if I was to get remarried, that's it for me. Like I'm not, I'm like, no, one of us is going to be in the ground before we get out of this because we're not doing this. I'm not doing this again. Um,
Yeah.
but my
I've
first,
always said that if this one does not work out, like I'm never getting married ever, ever, ever again, and I'll be single for the rest of my life. I'm just like not gonna do it again. I guess because this is my second marriage, and
it's
I was like,
hard.
if this
Yeah.
doesn't ever work out, like if I don't care if it's 10 years from now, and
Yeah.
if we get a divorce 10 years from now, I'm never getting married again. Like I don't care if we get a divorce tomorrow, I'm never getting married again. Like I don't want to. I think it's just I don't know. I feel like I guess because I've been in this relationship for so long that
Hmm.
it's too much of a hassle to go through the divorce and then find someone else and then fall in love and then get married. And I'm never getting married ever, ever again. I don't think marriage is overrated. I agree with you that people don't take it as serious as they should. And going back to our grandparents, I just recently lost my grandmother this last September. I can't remember exactly because that day that she passed, it's not a blur. It is, but it isn't a blur. I just remember all of my family were sitting there at the hospital, and we asked my grandfather the same thing. Like, I want to say he said about the same thing, maybe 60, 65 years or something like that, because they got married at a young age, and my grandpa just turned 90 this year.
Hmm.
Um, so they were married for a long time, and we said the same thing, and he just said a lot of love, a lot of patience, and God. And my grandparents, they are very into church, and they grew up in the Catholic Church. They got married in the Catholic Church. We did her funeral at a Catholic church. They were at church every Sunday, every Wednesday, every holiday. My grandma, she was part of the choir. She ran the choir. My grandpa, I don't know, they were heavily involved in church. Um so yeah, his advice was a lot of love, a lot of patience, and a lot of God, basically. And he was just like, don't stop loving each other. And I was just like, it's the simplest advice ever. But to be married that long, and I don't know, like I've seen on Facebook and stuff where it says the difference between now and then is people give up too easy
Yes.
instead of fighting. People just like, okay, whatever,
100%.
on to the next one. Which I think,
Now,
I agree with
there
that
are
too.
certain situations where I think an abusive relationship for
Yeah, for sure.
example, that I would never put up with. Like, you hit me, I'm gone.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not dealing with that. So I would never tell anybody to stay in a relationship where they're getting abused like that,
Yeah.
mentally or physically, because mental
Mhm.
abuse is can be very severe as well. You know,
Yep.
but yeah, I think people just give up too easily. They walk away. They are having problems and they cheat, or they're having problems and they, you know, do other things that like that they shouldn't be doing. They find the easy way out, and
Yeah.
to make a relationship work, like, you've got to be able to stick it through, both of you. You have to be able to, you know, fight for it, like you said, and you just got to
Yeah.
fight for it, and both have to want the relationship to work in order for it to work.
And you know how they always say like the grass isn't greener on the other side.
A
I
hundred
think I
percent.
seen something the other day. It's like, well, that side's being watered. Are you watering your side for it to be green? So it's like, duh. Are you pouring your all
Are
into
you
this
nurturing your
relationship?
relationship? Yep.
Right. So I don't think marriage is overrated. I do think people are getting married for the wrong reasons too. I think a lot of women just want a flashy wedding and a big ring, and just to show off and say I got married and look how big my ring is and look how big my wedding is, and we spent thousands or millions of dollars on this wedding. It's
Oh
for
no.
show
I see people
versus
spending
love.
thousands and thousands of dollars, and I'm like, now don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Both of my marriages, I had two big weddings. I'm not gonna lie. Like, they were both big weddings. Um, but did we spend, 50 grand on a wedding? No. And I see
Yeah.
people, buying a $10,000 dress or
Mhm.
$20,000 dress, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I think my dress was like $900, I think.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, I mean, people, to me, they go just over and beyond. Even for quinceañeras, I mean, people just spend
Yeah.
way too much money on these events. And I'm like, that money could have been used for your kids' college
College.
funds. That money could have gone towards a house, a down payment on a house, or a car, something. Like, I don't see why people feel the need to spend so much money um, on weddings, honestly, because it's ridiculous. We had somebody who catered our wedding, and
Mhm.
it was like we got so many compliments on the food. It was like simple stuff: carne asada, some rice and beans, homemade tortillas. I mean, just the simple, but it was good because it was all
Yeah.
homemade. It was all homemade food. Like, we didn't have a restaurant caterer. It was a professional caterer, but she did home style, Mexican
Yeah.
food. And to me, those are the best. Like, people say, oh, well, what kind of food do you want? What kind of you do you want, the steak or the chicken, or for when you're RSVPing for weddings, and I'm like, that's too much for me. That's too
Yeah,
much.
me too.
If you don't like the food we're serving, go to Whataburger afterwards.
So, you know my story about our photographer for the wedding. Um, right? Don't you
Yes,
know it?
yes,
I'm
yes,
like, right?
yes.
Okay, so our caterer was someone that was referred to us. Now, I'm not gonna put her name out there because I feel like we ended it with like you go your way and I go my way. Um,
Uh oh.
so our caterer was referred to us by someone in the family, and she came to our house. She sat down with us. She wrote down what she would provide, the money. Mind you, I didn't have a wedding planner, right? I was the wedding planner.
Right.
So I budgeted for everything. I wrote everything down, had all the prices. Bam. Okay. 2 weeks before the wedding, she messaged me and was like, "Hey, I need you to send me over like I think $300 or something." She was like, "I gotta go buy all the meat. I like to get it like 2 weeks before the wedding because then I'm gonna prep it. I'm gonna marinate it, blah, blah, what all this, right?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "I gave you this amount." And she was like, "No, that was just the deposit, like just to reserve the date. Basically, it didn't go towards anything, but just a reservation. I was like, wait, that's not what was discussed. And I was like, we're 2 weeks away and I don't have any extra money to give you. And I was like, that's not what we said. So we went back and forth, right? Then I was like, you know what, just give me my money back. And I was like, don't worry about it. I was like, just give me my money back. I'll figure something out. And she was like, well, no, I can't refund you your money because that was in our agreement that if you cancel, then I can't refund you. And I was like, okay, send me a copy of the contract because you never gave me the copy like you were supposed to, anyways. And she never sent it to me. Finally, I was like, we need to meet up in person. So we did. And I sat there and I recorded the whole thing. And she was pissed off about it, but I'm pissed off about it. And so I was like, you have until this date to give me my money back or I'm going the legal way. And she ended up giving me my money back. She tried to be snotty about it. It was like, God bless you. You need it more than me. And I was like, thank you. I was like, you know what? I was like, I honestly don't think like you're a bad person. I was like, I think this was a business transaction that went wrong off of bad communication. And I was like, but I appreciate you refunding me my money. And we just kind of just left it at that. So she gave me my money back, and that money that I had aside for a caterer, we went and bought all the food. My dad made the briskets. I made like 5, 6 pans of rice. The night before my wedding, I was sitting there cooking, making pans of rice. My mom made sides. Like everybody made a side. My mother-in-law, she made a side. Everybody just made a side.
And I bet it was real good, wasn't it?
And it was. And we did. And all we did was we put it to the side. And my mom, my dad, my sister-in-law, someone else, they were the ones serving. When it was time to eat, everybody went up. You got a plate. Tell me what you want. Okay, here's your plate. And everybody loved it. And I was like, it's fine. It was crazy though. But yeah, that was another nightmare of my wedding that I almost didn't get my money back over some food. But luckily, she did refund me my money.
And you know, I think people put too much focus on the wedding and not the marriage. And that's the problem.
Yeah. Ours was really low key. We got married at my grandmother's house, which I will forever cherish. I'm glad we made that decision because we almost didn't. We were looking at different venues and stuff, but that means so much more to me now that she's not here. And I know when my grandpa's gone, like I'm glad we did that. Like
right.
I'm glad we got married there, but we had the reception here in Red Oak, but we got married there. We did an outdoor wedding. We decorated it ourselves. We rented chairs, like everything. The photo booth, one of my cousins, she made the backdrop for the photo booth and the props. And
you can do so much on your own. People don't realize, like,
it's the camera thing.
Yeah,
I got in my guest book. Once everybody was done signing it, I moved my guest book over and I opened it because I had a bunch of blank pages and I had everybody take pictures. I said, take one and keep one, or take one and leave one. That's what it was. Take one and leave one. So everybody got to take pictures, and you take some, and then you leave one in the guest book. So the guest book has signatures and pictures.
Oh, I like that. Everybody.
Yeah. And it was just real low key. But yeah, I mean, we spent, I don't know how much money. I want to say less than 10,000 for sure. So it wasn't a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot putting money into a wedding. I mean, places are expensive. DJs, once you start calculating everything, venue, DJ, food, your dress, the flowers, I mean, everything, it just adds up so much.
I have stories for days about my wedding. My dress that I initially ordered, when they told me it was going to be ready and all that, they never called me, but I stayed on them and I called them. They're like, oh, we never received it.
See, everything went pretty smooth for our wedding. Everything was very smooth except for one thing. So we got married in a Catholic church, and everything was, I was at a hotel getting ready. My mom was with me, and her job was to make sure the rings got to the church. She had the box. I gave her the box and everything. I get ready, get to the church. I'm in the limo, pull up to the church, and my mom tells me, I forgot the rings. I said, what? I said, the wedding's about to start. She was like, yeah, y'all are going to have like stand-in rings. And so she pulls off her ring, gives me my stepdad's ring. Like we
oh my God.
We are, so our rings didn't get blessed, and like none of that, because she forgot our rings. That was probably the biggest thing that happened for the wedding. Everything else was pretty smooth. But yeah, so our rings didn't get blessed, which I give her a hard time, and I tell her, that was the reason why we ended up divorced.
It's so funny.
But and then she's like, "Oh, but yeah, now y'all are back together, so it don't count." I'm like, "Okay, sure, lady." But but that was probably the biggest thing for our wedding. But anyways, so this episode actually went a lot longer than what I thought. I thought it was going to be short, especially with both of us being sick. I was like, "Oh, we're just going to get on. We're going to talk like for 20 minutes, and we're going to be through. We're going to be like, okay, we got to cut this." We're both
I know, I've had to mute a few times so I could cough and not die over here.
Yeah, we're both sniffling and coughing and all kinds of stuff.
I know it's time for me to take my night medicine.
I know, I'm gonna
around clock.
I'm gonna take some NyQuil tonight, and I'm just gonna sleep. Especially being that I ain't gotta get up early with the kids. Yeah, I'm gonna.
I gotta work tomorrow. I've been off all week. I have to go to Bedford and then yours. So I'm not contagious anymore, though. So if I thought I was, I wouldn't be doing no appointment. But for sure, I'm gonna take my antibiotics and take my medicine. And Dalen's a little disappointed because he was like, "So I can sleep in tomorrow?" I was like, a little bit. I was like, "You don't have to wake up as early, but you still got to get up." I was like,
"So he's out of school too?"
Yeah.
When was his last day?
Today.
Oh, okay. Today too?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, "I'm sorry, I gotta work." I was like, "I wish I could sleep in too." I was like, "We get to sleep in a little bit, like an extra hour." But
yeah, that's about as much as I get to sleep in extra too. So
yeah, so. But yeah, this was fun. I feel like we've been like missing each other every.
I know I know. Once we are in person, it's going to be. We're going to have to really catch up. It'll be a good episode. Now, the next episode we have, we're not going to record on Sunday, but the week after that, we might have a guest on. I've got to confirm. So, but yeah, look forward to that, people. But like I said, we're not going to record Sunday. But
Sunday is the Carne Asada Fest, so I hope you get your tickets.
Yes, ma'am.
I will be there.
Alrighty, well, that does it for this week, guys, and we will talk to y'all in about
2 weeks.
Yes.
Oh, a week and a half.
I was like Sunday. A week and a half. Yeah. Alrighty, guys, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.